Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel. I'm your host, Ross Benjamin. It is Tuesday, May the 28th. Hope everyone out there had a very safe and enjoyable Memorial Day weekend. And don't forget, folks, we are honoring our vets, which are the foundation of our country and the great reason why we have the freedoms we have today. And especially to those who made the ultimate sacrifice, to those and their families. But in any event, let's move on. It is Tuesday the 28th, and I am joined today, as always on Tuesdays, by Mr. Jesse Schule and Mr. Sean Higgs. Just a friendly reminder, folks, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, take a second to do so. It costs you absolutely nothing, and there's no strings attached. There's no hidden agenda. Just go and also go into your YouTube settings and click on the alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel. You'll be notified upon any of our 5 podcasts going up on a weekly basis. And don't forget to give us a like on these videos, just a small token of your appreciation for the time, work, and effort we put into bringing you a quality podcast each and every time we're on air. Jesse, how was well, again, they don't celebrate Memorial Day in you're Canadian, number one. Number two, you're in Thailand. So Memorial Day is sort of like a moot point to you. I know that you're a respectful man. So you do respect the fact that, we honor that in the United States. But how was your weekend in general?
I had a pretty good weekend. We were out grilling, doing Memorial Day type stuff. I think in Canada we have Victoria Day or something along those lines, a similar holiday on the same day. But I haven't lived in Canada for a couple decades now, so I can't really tell you what they're doing over there. But we treat every day like a holiday here in Thailand, Ross.
Yeah, I mean, they extend the Christmas holiday, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and then Box Day in Canada is the 26th.
Yeah, Boxing Day, what is that?
Box Day, where you return all your gifts on the 26th if they don't fit or they weren't to your liking or whatever the case may be. They call it Box Day in Canada, and we celebrate.
It's actually like Black Friday. It's the day that they have all those clearance sales. So people line up outside of electronics shops to get the $50 DVD players and such. Or I guess DVD players are obsolete these days, but back in the day, that's what they did.
Yeah.
All right.
Even I wouldn't bring up a DVD, Sean. Anyway, and they also celebrate Canada Day on July the 1st, which is their version of our July the 4th, if I'm not mistaken. Correct, Jesse?
That is correct, Ross.
All right. I'm on top of these things. I'm only 70 miles from the Canadian border. But I know one guy who's not close to the Canadian border. It's Sean Higgs. He's in the great state of Texas. Everything's big in Texas, including Mr. Higgs. How are you, my friend?
Pretty good. Yeah, a lot of Cinco de Mayo down here since we're by the southern border, not by you, by the northern border. But, yeah, nice little weekend. I was grilling. I do that most of the time anyway, but good baseball weekend. That's what matters to me. Nice weekend of baseball. I had the NBA winner, so I'm happy. What's there to do? New week. We're winding down the playoffs. Let's jump into that. Well, guys, both series 3-0. What's going on here?
Well, it's 4-0 now because the Celtics.
That's right. Celtics are swept last night. That one is over
last night. And we were talking about this off air that Jesse had mentioned. I think something along the lines of Boston trailed in 80% of all 4 games in this series, yet they swept the series. And I mentioned that I thought that a lot of that could be attributed to Indiana's inexperience in big games and playoff games in general, and it showed. In the 3 games they lost were all by 3 points or fewer. Or 4 games they lost. 3 games they lost by 3 points or fewer. They got blown out in game 2. I can take that back. But in those 3 games, those close losses, they seemed like they were leading comfortably for most of the way, and then they folded down the stretch, Jesse, in the final 6 minutes of the game or whatever have you. But I mean, especially in game 3, they had an 18-point lead on 2 separate occasions, including in the second half, and they folded, and Boston showed their experience. And you're still not sold on Boston. I know that, Jesse.
Yeah, but as far as the blown leads, I mean, I'm a fan of Carlisle, but that has to fall on the coach. There's no way around it. You blow leads like that 3 times in a series. you got to think there's something a coach can do to make adjustments to prevent that from happening again. I don't know what else to say.
Why is it Carlisle's fault? I don't get that. I respect a lot of things and agree with a lot of things you say. That's not one of them. To me, that lends itself directly hand in hand with lack of experience in big games. And you're facing a team that's been there, done that the last couple of years. I mean, the Celtics, again, they were in the finals 2 years ago. They were in the conference finals last year. And Indiana hadn't made the playoffs for 5 years. And let's face it, I mean, in the first two series, they played an undermanned Milwaukee team without their star player. They played a depleted Knicks roster, especially as that series moved on. And now they're facing a healthy, a quality team in Boston with a ton of experience. I don't know, Jesse. If you can give me a logical explanation on why you would blame.
I can.
All right, go ahead.
Well, Ross, after game three, Carlisle in an interview was asked why he didn't call a timeout. And he said, I trust my players that they can create offense without allowing the defense to get set, and we will be better off. And I think he was proven wrong. I think that he said he could trust his players to do the right thing and create offense and get a good look. Clearly, they weren't up for it, and perhaps calling the timeout, letting the defense get set, but having a more clear and concise plan of what you're going to do with the basketball, something that's a little safer, might have paid dividends for the Pacers.
Yeah, you sound like a result better, Jess. I love you, brother, but the bottom line is
all right, Teddy.
All right. Well, the bottom line is
well, also,
let me finish, and then Sean, I'll let you interject. The bottom line is to make a statement like that. I would say that using a somewhat of a degree of intelligence would lead me to believe that he's drawing from a large sample size. In other words, he has seen his team in this situation on several occasions over the course of the season, and they've responded, and that formula has seemed to work. And it certainly makes a lot of sense to me because they like to go fast. And when they did struggle in this series is when offensively is when Boston had time to set up their defense. So I don't know. I mean, we'll have to agree to disagree on that one. Sean, your thoughts?
Well, I'm agreeing with the crawl before you walk, right? It's kind of like a younger team facing a team. We said it's about Boston. We thought the Pacers would steal a game or two because Boston had only gotten over this hump once in the last 5 or 6 years. Now, as of setting up a play, let's be honest, the Boston defense is pretty good, right? They're kind of defensive. So maybe you want your guys to catch them off guard. You're the highest scoring team in the league. You think someone's going to sink a shot, as opposed to why are we going to give Boston time to settle into a deep. We saw this last night. They're up 93 to 85 or whatever. They're up 5 minutes ago, whatever it is, the fourth quarter. Boston gets to play some defense, and it's just missed shot after missed shot or turnover. So I mean, I guess we could go either way on that. 6-1, half dozen the other. If you think you should have called a timeout, other side of it's like, hey, you saw what happened when Boston could play defense. They lose these games late, whether they're tightening up or missing shots or it's the defense getting to them. They had problems.
Again, I mean, for him, that statement to me speaks volumes. And not to sound like I'm some know-it-all or I think Jesse's an idiot for having the position he is, because that's the furthest thing from the truth. Yeah, he's proven to be otherwise to me time and time again over the years. But having said that, I got to believe that he made that statement and he made it because he's seen his team in this situation on multiple occasions throughout the course of the year, including the playoffs, and he lets them play through it. And more times than not, they were successful in doing so. Now, after the fact, he should maybe he should have called the timeout. But in any event, Jesse, I think ever since you said Jason Tatum was overrated, the guy looks like the MVP of the league. So you still feel the same way about Jason Tatum? I'm picking on you today.
I mean, he's no Luka Doncic. He's no Luka, that's for sure.
It's no Luka. Okay. Fair. But we'll see. But at the end of the day, ever since he made that comment, he's been the best player on the floor in both games. So, well, we'll see. I'm picking on you today, brother. I don't know why. I love you. You know that. And I got the ultimate respect for you. But, if we agreed all the time, it would be a pretty boring show. And I usually disagree with everything that comes out of Sean's mouth. I very seldom agree with anything that comes out of your mouth. So, changing it up a bit. All right, let's get to the game tonight. And that's going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves at the Dallas Mavericks. Right now, the Mavericks are a 1.5-point favorite, and the total is 210.5 in this game. All three of the first three games went over the total, Jesse. And again, the Minnesota Timberwolves, similar path to what we've seen in the Boston series, is they seem to be right there. The tie game with a couple minutes to go in game 3, and they get outscored blank down the stretch. And lost a similar type game at Minnesota. And it's not like a series that you really think about and say Dallas is dominating this series. Yes, they are up 3-0, but what's your take here? I know you got some props for us, but any general opinions of what you saw?
It certainly doesn't help when Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards are a combined 0 for 10 from beyond the arc. Sean mentioned it when we were off air. It looks like something might be wrong with Anthony Edwards. Now, he did have that highlight reel done.
Wait. Stop right there. You made a pick on Anthony Edwards 2 games ago. And I told you, Jesse, do you put any stock in what Reggie, help me out, guys,
Reggie Miller
said? Reggie Miller made an observation in game 1 near the end of the game that he thought Anthony Edwards didn't look 100% right. And you said, I don't pay attention to anything what Anthony Edwards says. Now you're switching gears. That's okay.
Reggie Miller says.
Well, I mean, I have to switch gears because, like I said, I think my answer at that time was in regards to his 3-point shooting. Maybe that's why he's shooting more threes and he's not driving. I'm betting on him to make threes. And if he's not healthy enough to be driving to the basket, but it looked like the opposite in game 3. And I got, at the end of the day, you can have strong opinions, Ross, but if you get evidence that tells you you're on the wrong track, you'd be a fool not to pivot. And I'll be the first to admit if I made a mistake, I want to correct it as soon as possible because I'm not just going to stand there and bang my head against the wall and try and do the same thing over again. And
why I bring it up is because you always have this really good memory, and I appreciate that. So. I'm just trying to prove to you that a guy that's...
Oh, I remember the conversation like it happened 5 minutes ago. Yeah, I do remember that. And yeah, I got to pivot, I got to say. I mean, that being said, we saw Luka Doncic look the same way. Oh, what's wrong with Luka? What's wrong? And boom, all of a sudden he's the second coming of Black Jesus or whatever you want to call it. I don't know if we're allowed to say that.
Careful, buddy. Go ahead.
I don't know if we're allowed to say that, but Michael Jordan, that's what they call Michael Jordan. Anyways, so, I mean, things can change fast, but I don't want my money on Anthony Edwards right now. But I'm going to focus on the Dallas Mavericks. And, of course, Derek Lively, the second junior, I had a prop on him in game 3. His points, rebounds, assists were up to 17.5. But I kept on pointing out that the guy, since he's taken over as the starter or playing starters minutes, he's getting 2-3 assists a game. So the PRA only being one point different than the points and rebounds was a bargain. And he was well on his way to going sailing over that PRA again when he took that knee from Karl Anthony Towns. But now Lively's out. Who gets the opportunity to step up for Dallas? And I've got my eye on PJ Washington, who struggled in the first 2 games of the series, but he had a pretty solid performance in game 3. Lively was contributing a lot on offense. Somebody's going to have to pick up the slack. Could be PJ Washington, but what I really like is a head-to-head matchup with him and Rudy Gobert. Rudy's struggled. His defense hasn't been up to par. Rudy's not much of an offensive contributor anyways, but just because he's in the game for long enough and he's a big body, he does get a few points down low, but the head-to-head matchup has PJ Washington priced at -140 as far as the points go. I like that one. I know everybody doesn't have access to head-to-head matchups. In that event, I would go over 12.5 points for PJ Washington. I will say he's playing 40 minutes a game. He's 4 of 18 from beyond the arc in the series. And don't worry about the percentage. The significance there is 18 attempted threes in the first 3 games. You got a guy getting those kind of attempts from beyond the arc. He's going to get some points eventually.
All right, so PJ Washington, minus 140 total points over Rudy Gobert, which makes a lot of sense to me because Rudy Gobert is more noted for his defense. And PJ Washington, like Jesse just pointed out, throughout the course of these playoffs has been a dynamite three-point shooter for the most part. So anytime you want to give me a great good three-point shooter against a very average offensive player that's not the focal point of your offense, is more out there and more dominant on the defensive end, I think that pick makes a lot of sense. And the other one, Jesse, your other prop?
Yeah, we're looking at Karl Anthony Towns versus Kyrie Irving in made 3-pointers. This one's a little juicy too, and I know Sean doesn't like these high-priced props, but the way I look at it, guys, is you look at the win probability. You say, is this going to cash 7 out of 10 times? And if you come to the conclusion that probably it will, it's worth laying the minus 160 that it's priced at. But Karl Anthony Towns head-to-head against Kyrie Irving for made 3-pointers. Towns has 25 made threes in the postseason. Kyrie's got 40. Kyrie's hitting 44% from beyond the arc. Kyrie comes in hot. Towns comes in ice cold. I do believe in regression, but I don't believe in flipping the switch just like that. It's going to be hard for Towns to want to really keep on shooting the 3-ball after what happened in the last game. So I do like Kyrie.
Yeah, Kyrie Irving minus 160, more 3-pointers than Karl Anthony Towns. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah, you're getting into the 160 area. I don't like to touch, or Sean doesn't like to touch, but based on your theory is you're saying, well, you know what? Would this particular situation hit 70% of the time in my mind? And your answer was yes. And if you use that formula, you're winning $700 on that type of bet. You're losing 480, so you're still up 220. And you need to hit that kind of percentage when you lay that kind of figure. But it's certain this is one, Sean, that certainly makes sense to me. I just don't think that Karl Anthony Towns, he looks shaken in terms of his confidence right now. He used to be, to me, in the earlier 2 series, he looked like a confident 3-point shooter and a confident player all in all. And in this series, he just looks like the moment is caught up to him. It's almost like it's too big.
We've talked about the Mavs made their trades, brought in a little defense. Yeah. And could that be part of it? Could that be why he's 3 of 22 from 3 in the series? So I think it's probably a combination of both. You play a defensive team, things get tighter, players get tighter. People might not admit that. Oh, they're pros. It is what it is. You know, I'm not saying they're choking or tensing up, but it's playoff time, right? We see this in all sports. Totals come down. It's supposed to be defense. Everybody's a little more hesitant to take a shot. Well, listen, the guy's 322. I don't care you're laying 160. Are you telling me that he's made 3 in the entire series? Is he going to make 3 today or more to beat Kyrie? I don't think so. I think Kyrie will get 3 or 4. I don't think Towns is going to get 5, right? At this point, I think he's going to hit 4 or 5 today. Go ahead.
Towns' defensive assignment's a lot more difficult, and that's going to take away from his energy level on offense. Also, it's more likely to get him in foul trouble. So he's got a lot of things working against him as far as trying to put up big numbers offensively.
The big men from Minnesota, though, Jesse, without Derek Lively the second available, I don't think the stress level on the defensive end for the big men is going to be quite as much without Lively in the lineup as with him in the lineup.
I think that Dallas will definitely miss Lively.
Yeah, he's been more so on the offensive end. He seems to be a guy as opposed to Gafford, where he's a lot better effective player, not only offensively but distributing the basketball too, where he gets the ball around the foul line, especially when the other team plays zone, and he's able to find open shooters, and he's been effective on the offensive glass. We'll see, because that's a big loss for Dallas, in my opinion, just based on, if you would have told me before the playoffs started that Derek Lively Jr. or Jarek Lively II, whatever term you want to use, isn't going to be available, and that's going to be a major concern for the Dallas Mavericks in any series. I would have told you were nuts, but based on how the kid has played during this postseason, Sean, it certainly is something we can't ignore.
Yeah, I'm looking at him and Gafford's numbers. They're similar, but the assists are the difference there. And
There you go, right there.
It's a 0.8 to a 1.5, but that just tells you he's a little better getting rid of him and finding the guy. Let's be honest. The team comes down to Luke and Kyrie.
Yeah.
You need the role guy. It's all about role, but you need the role guy that kind of sets teams up to go on runs, to win championships and to win series. At this point, it's 3-0. You are home. You got the probably two best guys on the floor right now playing, as good as Anthony Edwards has been. I don't think it's a loss. I think Dallas could overcome it, though. Now, next series might be a little tougher if Porzingis is back. That's different. That's a different thing we'll have to talk about next week.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about Jason Tatum, though, according to Jesse. Anyway, at the end of the day, Sean, here's the reality: is Minnesota's down 3-0 in the series. They're on the road. They lost a game in the last game that was very winnable. It was tied with a couple minutes to go, and they just couldn't put the ball in the ocean in the last couple minutes. They were only a 2.5-point dog in that game, even though they lost the first two at home. And now they're down to 1.5. I'm sure some of that might have to do with Lively, 1.5 or 2, depending on where you're looking. My point being, it's very unusual to see a team that is down 3-0 that's only a 2-point dog on the road. But in any event, doesn't matter what I think about the side in this game. It matters what you think. Go ahead.
Well, I'll be pretty short at this because we've talked about a lot of different angles of this game with the player props that just covered. So I like the Mavericks to close it out, and they've beat them in the fourth quarter in every game. So we talk about teams going through not the motions, but getting to a spot. Now you upset Denver to get here. But let's be honest, Denver, we were talking about just before the Celtics playing with fire in this series versus the Pacers. That was what Denver did against the Lakers. Down, all of a sudden you come back and, maybe you're a little gassed out. And you have a pumped up team coming in thinking we're on fire. But then you face a couple MVP type guys and Luke and Kyrie. That's what this is going to come down to. Those two guys, they're home. They could smell in the water. This is and I like the Wolves all season. I thought they were a really good total team. But I don't see him pulling out here. The Edwards, what was he? He's great from the floor. Was he like 11 to 24 or whatever he was? No 3-pointers. So that's kind of odd that he's not taking threes. When the team's down, too, on top of it. I don't know. I think Mavericks wrap it up. I'll go money line here. It's, again, 1.5, 2 might be 120. Yeah, I don't mind. Mavericks. Yeah. I know it's rigged. The NBA needs money. It's got to extend a little bit. I don't know. I think it'll be a 4-0 sweeps. Yeah. That's Russ. You're on Twitter. You see these people. They think it's stuff like this.
Well, you're one of them. You're a conspiracy theorist from way back.
Only with the Lakers. Only with the Lakers.
Okay. Yeah.
And how'd that series go? Yes.
It's Neil Armstrong didn't set foot on the moon either.
Absolutely, he did not. Take the Mavericks, be a winner.
Yeah. All right. So the Mavericks -120. You can get that line right now. Again, we're recording. It's around 10:37 a.m. Eastern time. So, folks, that's the line as we speak. It's subject to change because there are some 125s and 130s out there. But Sean likes Dallas -120. Jesse, the other thing is Minnesota's been a great road team all season long. It seems like. But then again, they won 2 games at Denver. They won 2 games at Phoenix. They lost game 5 in Denver. Now they lose this one. But this team has proven that they can win on the road. But this is a whole different scenario. You know what I mean? And Sean it's a good point. You got 2 guys that are absolute clutch players and closers. Some teams don't have one. They got 2 in Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. What's your take in terms of opinion on where Sean is going with this game, and if you have anything else to add in that regard.
I'm with Sean. Why would I want to jump on a team that's trailing 3-0 in a series where everybody knows that no team has ever come back? And it's just hard to imagine that you're going to get up to extend a series just to eventually lose it anyways. It feels like Game 4 in Indiana all over again. I wouldn't be surprised if it plays out very similar. As far as Derek Lively influencing the line only being at 1.5 or 2, if it's because of Derek Lively, I got to point out that he only played 9 minutes in Game 3. He played well in those 9 minutes, but somebody else had to pick up the slack for the majority of the game. They do have the bodies to throw in there. Like I said, PJ Washington can do a little bit more scoring, and Gafford is solid defensively. That's why they picked him, and he's supposed to be the starter. He was supposed to get those minutes anyways, and Lively kind of burst on the scene and came out of nowhere to steal those minutes. So I don't think Lively should be influencing the line to that degree.
Okay, then let me ask you a question. I'm picking on you today. I don't know why. It's because I usually don't, but I for the sake of conversation and intelligent conversation, because I always appreciate your retorts. If indeed it has nothing to do with Lively, and I think that, if it does, it's maybe a half a point or point. But if it's not attributed to him, how's a team that was opened as a 3-point favorite in Game 3 has won all 3 games in this series, has covered all 3 games in this series, go from an opening 3-point favorite in Game 3 to only a 1.5 to 2-point favorite in Game 4 on their home floor? Well, how do you?
I would have said the same thing. I would have said the same thing about Game 3. Why is the line so light when they're up 2-0? And whatever logic they used to set the line low in Game 3 would probably be similar logic that they're using here, and they've been wrong both times.
It's the Timberwolves' best defense regular season probably getting out there.
Hope in one hand and poop in the other, right, Sean?
That's it.
Yeah, well,
they're due.
Your bottom line
Anthony Edwards is due. He's going to score 40 tonight.
Yeah, and we're going to get the inside straight when we're holding a 3, 4, 6, and 7, hoping to get to 5. So, I good answer, Jesse. Again, my point being is, if you're not going to attribute that to Lively, which I believe is, you're 100% accurate on that, then why has this line even shrunk further? Here's the thing, guys.
I got an idea, Ross, if I can just jump in. On TNT, I believe, the NBA show, they were talking about sitting Luka for Game 4. Should the Mavs sit Luka? Now, I know that's ridiculous. I'm not endorsing such things, but that was proposed on national television, that the Mavs should sit Luka for Game 4.
Yeah,
maybe that influences some betting. I don't know.
I mean,
maybe some of the public buys into that.
You're not gonna sit a superstar player in Game 4 with a chance to clinch on your home floor to go to the NBA Finals. I think whoever believes that also believes Sean's conspiracy theories. But in any event, I would say
rest them up for the next game.
Yeah, I would say one thing, guys, in your quick thoughts, and then I'll move on to my pick. Is there's a big difference to me being down 3-0 in a series, and like Jesse's logic is, which most times than not is true, that teams down 3-0, do you really want to put mentally, you're spent, you're on the road, are you really going to come back from 3-0? Well, nobody else has done it. You've lost some heartbreaking games. What do you have left in the tank for Game 4? I think that applies more to a veteran-laden team than a younger team like Minnesota, who hasn't been there. And the more they could play in these types of situations, the more big game experience they're going to get, and the more enthused they are as well. I think there's a whole different mindset when you're talking about a younger team like the Timberwolves as compared to like a Phoenix Suns team that was, they're a veteran team in terms of their core players, and they fall behind 3-0. It's like, well, we're not going to come back from 3-0 anyway. Again, I'm just throwing it out there. Do I have any definitive facts that would back that up? No, it's just my educated opinion on such situations. But Sean,
Yeah, I get it, but I'm not buying it. I just think
yeah,
I
okay.
got two guys on the other side. That one, especially Kyrie, has got a little aura about him. So he wants to come in here and just prove people wrong about him and how he is.
Yeah,
So I mean, I get it. They're a younger team. It's not like KD and Beal, like older guys, like, oh, whatever, we'll go on to next year. And I mean, they were finger pointing already. That they were down, and that team was already. It's the
yeah.
coach's fault, and he's not playing the right offense. Like they're,
Had not,
that's
had nothing to do with trading all your quality
yeah.
depth away,
I
right?
mean, come
So
on. So different situations, but
yeah.
I don't know.
And the other
You got a
thing,
you
go
got a
ahead.
team in Dallas that's a veteran team. They're
Yeah.
led by two MVP guys. Like, let's be honest, they're superstars.
And Kyrie has won one with the Cleveland Cavaliers when he was with LeBron James.
Yeah.
And Jesse, going back to your point, a guy like Luka, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, has never been to the NBA Finals.
No,
His first
he
opportunity to get to the NBA Finals.
well,
And,
they lost to the Warriors a couple years ago.
yeah, and in the conference finals. Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. He's never been to the NBA Finals.
No. Well, I was just saying to get there, he had a shot, but they got
I
blew
got
out.
that. So my
All
point being with going hand in hand to what Jesse's statement about maybe it has to do with TNT saying they should bench Luka. You really think that Luka is going to allow them to bench him? And
You
again,
know, I said I thought it was ridiculous, but I'm
yeah,
just
I mean,
saying
think about it.
when they come out and say something on national television, they garner a pretty big audience, and some people might be buying into that.
Yeah,
One thing I will say about the Minnesota Timberwolves, though, is both Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards have sort of shown their immaturity in this series. They came out of the Denver series, and Anthony Edwards was dropping f-bombs on national television and saying "bring your ass," and he.
yeah,
It seemed like he was buying into those stories of being Michael Jordan's son a little bit too much, and then you got Towns claiming to be the best shooting big man in the history of the game. Right before the series, he was quoted as saying that, and look what has happened to them. So, I think they came in just thinking we're the favorite, we're on top of the world, and right now they're eating humble pie.
yeah. It's just like you making statements because people tell you, they remind them of my nephew. You know what I mean? So just because you're my nephew doesn't mean that. Anyway, all right. So let's get to my pick, and it comes in its first half total. All right, Minnesota and Dallas first half total in this game 103. I'm going to explain this to people the way I explained it yesterday on another network, where I took the over in the first half of the Boston Indiana series. By the way, I won over 114. Yes, I won because the team hit. Because Boston, Indiana hit a shot, a 3-pointer at the buzzer, or a
Never in
2-pointer
doubt.
at the buzzer to put me over. But my logic was, and again, folks, a winner's a winner, whether you win by 20 or whether you win by 1. We discussed that before. But my logic was quite simple, guys. The first half total was 114. The game total was 222.5 at the time when I made that pick, which is well over 50% of what the game total was. So to me, that indicates the sports books are saying we're expecting a high scoring first half. So that was my logic, number one. Number two is I also told people if we happen to hit that pick, I would. And if you like the under, and Jesse, we had sort of a conversation about this yesterday because you said this looks right up your alley, and which it was. Okay. And my reply to you was, you know what, Jesse, you're right on. And if I can't use the under in this game, I'm not going to play it at all. And I didn't trust Indiana. But what I said on that show was that I felt that if we hit the over in the first half, that you were going to get a much better number than 222.5 to go under in terms of live betting in the second half. And lo and behold, that number went way up from the regular or the game total of 222.5. I think somewhere around 228, if I'm not mistaken. And they only scored 92 in the second half. I see a similar situation here. You're looking at the game total 210.5, the first half total 103. That tells me, again, the bookmakers are trying to tell us that they expect a lower scoring first half in this game. And I'm reverting to my notes because I showed my age today. I thought our show was at 10:30, and I had all my notes written down, and I didn't get it on my teleprompter. So excuse me, folks, if you see me looking down, I'm not watching a soccer game like Jesse has occasion to do on a live show. I am looking at my notes. In any event, we're looking at the first halves are 3-0 to the over. The games are 3-0 to the over in the series. The first halves are 3-0 to the over in this series. All three first halves have produced 108 or more in the first half in terms of combined score. In the first half totals in the first three games were 104.5 twice and 105 on another occasion, and easily going over the total on every occasion. And the bottom line is that why is this been moved from 104.5 to 103? Similar to the type of question I asked Jesse about the point spread. Additionally, when you look at the fact that this first half total is 103 or less, and you look at the fact that we had an average combined score, not only at 108 or more in each occasion in the first halves. The average combined score in the first halves of the first three games were 114.7. I'm going to give you similar advice here, okay, that I did yesterday, and not on this show, but on another. And I would say that let's go under the total of 103 in the first half because it doesn't make any sense to me, basically. And when it doesn't make any sense to me, you guys know, and some of the viewers out there know that if it doesn't make any sense, you go to contrarian approach and go away from the obvious choice. I'm going to go under 103. And I think that if you like the over in this game, that you're probably, if we have 102 or less being scored in the first half of this game and we cash in, we should probably look at the over live betting once the second half begins because we're going to catch a better number than the 210.5. So that would be the route I go. And when I said this yesterday, number one, if we lose this first half bet, you don't chase it, okay? So everything's null and void. You live with the loser and you move on. If we win the first half bet at under 103, okay, we are going to take anywhere from 25 to 50% of what we wagered in the first half and go over the total at a better number. Now, you got to make sure when we go into this, I can't foresee what the odds makers are going to do, but logic would tell you if there's 102 or less scored in the first half, that you're going to get a better number to go over the total than the game total right now of 210.5. And then you make that wager on the over. So that's my logic. It worked to a T yesterday. It's not going to work every time, but I hope, win or lose, that anybody out there listening is going to learn something from that. And again, it goes back to Jesse thinking like an odds maker, right? And your take, Jess.
Yeah, I mean, I put out a free pick on Twitter yesterday, and in the video, I said that every single game in the conference finals has gone over. All three games in the Boston Indiana series had gone over, way over, by the way. Yet the total sat at 222.5, which was the same number we'd seen for two or three games in a row. And that really stood out to me. And I said, my Uncle Ross would certainly say, think like a bookmaker. And, the bookmakers aren't in business to give away free money. So if something looks out of place like that, and also in a closeout game, in an elimination game, you find that shooting percentages go down often. It often game fours in with a 3-0 lead in a game four. I find it can be a little bit dull in the second half, and it was, and it hit. But as far as this game goes, you look at the last game. In game three, Dallas shot 55% from the field, 50% from beyond the arc. And that reminds me of Denver in the previous series against Minnesota. They shot 55, 57, 56% throughout a 3-game stretch. And I put out a video saying, I'm going to guarantee you regression. I can't guarantee you it's going to be in the next game, but eventually teams just can't hit 55% from the field and 50% from beyond the arc. There will be regression, whether or not it's tonight or not. But the fact that they're hitting 55%, 50% from beyond the arc, and you're only just going over, eventually those numbers are going to come down. I would lean under in this game for myself.
Yeah, and again, you're talking about under for the game. I'm talking about going over. If we get a low scoring first half and catching a better way better number than 210.5. Okay, so keep that all in mind, folks. And yesterday, when me and Jesse had that conversation, I told him you're 100% right. Your thinking is 100% right. I just can't get myself to take any Indiana game right now to go under the total. And kudos to you, you did. Also, that I couldn't give you the elongated answer that I used just now or yesterday, right? So at the end of the day, it didn't matter because the game went under the total with relative ease. We didn't need the better number in the second half for that to happen, as I asked the people or suggested people should do. But Sean, any take here?
Yeah, I like the under first half there.
Yeah,
I think, again, I like the match for the game, so I think Minnesota is going to be tight. And as Jesse alluded to, you're not going to be hitting 50 plus % versus a pretty good defensive team all the time. So even if they come down a little bit, I don't think it'll affect my overall win. But I see we're going with the total here because again, these were 207s, and now suddenly it's up to 211 in a elimination game. That doesn't make sense to me either.
and then the 103 in the first half, right? You know what I mean? So sort of like the same scenario as yesterday, where you had 114 as a total in the first half, and you had a game total at that time of 222.5. But it's flipped a little bit. It's the same scenario with the exception of it favors the under in the first half and maybe a better number to go over in the second half. Yeah. So we'll see what transpires in that regard. But in any event, Sean, tell the folks a little bit what you might have coming up this week. You know, baseball seems to be going to be the focal point going forward. We do have the NBA Finals coming up. And the chances are if Dallas wins tonight, we're going to wait for the NBA Finals to start. It's another conspiracy, according to Sean. But in any event, go ahead, buddy.
That's not conspiracy. That's just fact. They love to just spread that out. The final will start on Sunday and will end on the day before the Hall of Fame game, August 2nd. So they'll just spread that out for. Yeah. Well, listen, I'll have some NBA Finals pick up there. I'm on a nice, I think, 20-12 run with NBA, which is pretty good, and baseball, a lot of baseball. I got a 3-pack up today, one yesterday. Winning day, baseball, I think 64% for the week. We're up for the season. Again, season we're like 50-something %, but we're big plus money because I'm taking average plus odds. So you like to take some underdogs? You like a lot of games? I got you covered on the basis. Let's go.
There you go. Sean Higgs over at gamblersworld.net. You could also get Sean's NBA playoff package, which is down to possibly tonight in the NBA Finals, but still a good deal at $109, folks. You still have a possibility of a 7-game series in the NBA. Jesse, your thoughts in terms of what you may have coming up, and who knows what else you have to say that I can give you a hard time about today, but I'm going to try to relent a little bit. Go ahead, Jesse.
Well, I had a big baseball winner yesterday, the over in the Phillies-Giants game, and I feel pretty good about it because it was Blake Snell, the reigning Cy Young winner, and I'm on the fade train every time he's pitched. I've been against him to a degree. I was not against him on the side yesterday. I was on the over because he was pitching. Total was 8. Of course, they scored a dozen runs in that game, or I think it was a dozen. No,
8-4. Yeah, 8-4. Correct.
Oh, 8-4. Okay, yeah. But yeah, Snell, he just doesn't have it. He does not have it. He was coming off paternity leave, and it was a nice winner in baseball. I think that's 9 straight top baseball plays for me at gamblersworld.net. I'd have to check that out, but I know that's the case at some other spots, so it should be the case there as well.
There you go. Jesse Schule, one of the finest who does it right now, folks. I know I've given him a hard time today, but he's my buddy, and he's in my mind a great handicapper, and you can get it. We're lucky to have him over at gamblersworld.net, just like Sean Higgs, and check out all his packages. And also remember, folks, we guarantee all our picks over at gamblersworld.net. If you don't win, you don't make a profit on any single game, multi-game daily packages, as well as subscription plans of 30 days or fewer, which, by the way, folks, if you don't make a profit on our NBA playoff package, which is less than 30 days, right now at 109, you're going to get a $109 credit or whatever you paid toward that $109 purchase. So keep that in mind. Coming off 2 losers in the NBA the last 2 days, which is a rarity for me during the postseason, because I've been just knocking it dead all this postseason, and quite frankly, over the last 3 postseasons where I'm hitting 63% of my NBA plays. But my Major League Baseball is picking it up. I had a nice winner yesterday on Seattle plus 110 in the first 5 innings, and 3-2 was the score at the end of 5 innings. Cashed in there 6-2. The last 8 with my Major League Baseball, 75 and 52 now with since August 4th of last year, which is approaching 60% with Major League Baseball plays. And folks, when I'm hitting that higher percentage, and it is that higher percentage because I don't lay big numbers, you can grind it out and make a lot of money in Major League Baseball at those types of numbers. So you can find all 3 of us at gamblersworld.net. Sean and Jesse will be back with me tomorrow. We'll be talking baseball at that particular moment in time. Be sure to join us then. But until the next time, I'm sorry, Jesse, there's a like button right underneath.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button, folks. Until the next time, for Sean Higgs, Jesse Schule, and Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless, folks.